probably have network issues. That's why they haven't come in because normally by now we are always people always rushing like once the clock strikes 4. So how was your day, Chinemerem? How was work?
Good evening, Gabriel. My day has been
Hello,
very
Chinemerem, can you
fine.
hear me?
Coupled, yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yes, I said good evening. My day has been very fine. Thank you.
Shay, how's your day been? Okay. Jerry, how has your day been?
First, I'm going to send you the link now. Help me to check if it's working. Okay, hi guys. Can you guys hear me? Hi guys, can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. We currently have our speaker here, but I'm not the one that's going to be facilitating today. Gabriel is going to be the one facilitating today. So if you hear Gabriel's voice, please respond to him, okay? So Gabriel is going to be the one facilitating today. But today we have Seyi Oluwadare. So can you guys all hear me? Everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Please can we meet ourselves? Also, there's like feedback. Thank you. So today we're having Seyi Oluwadare is my designated dev. So if some of you follow me on Twitter, you always hear me saying my designated dev, my designated dev. He was sent to God from heaven to me. She is also my best friend, guys. Just putting it out there. She is my best friend, but we don't like tags. So today we're going to be having Shay talk to us, and he's going to be talking to us about she's going to be talking to us about dev and web design. Yeah. So there are a couple of requirements that we need to go through as designers when we want to do handoff. And I often hear people tell me that handoff is like one of the most stressful parts of design, explaining to your developer and actually finding a developer that understands you. Yeah, so Shay is going to be taking us through the entire process today. Hi, Shay.
Okay, hi best friend.
Uh-uh.
Hi best friend.
Please, is this not the usual energy? Please, can you give me the energy we usually have? Hi, Shay.
What energy? Hi best friend, what's up now? What
I'm
energy is that
fine.
again, Alex?
So you have the stage. You can take the stage. You can take the floor.
Okay, okay. Hi guys.
Sorry,
How are
Shay.
you
Wait.
guys doing today?
Sorry, Shay.
Alright,
Guys, don't forget, like, to see his screen. Just pin his presentation. So you see Shay Oluwadare in brackets presentation. Just pin his presentation to be able to see his slides. Okay. So you can continue, Shay.
alright. Let me know as soon as you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen. We can.
Okay. So today I'll be talking about developer handoff. I mean, the term handoff is widely used, but it shouldn't be taken literally by designers because some designers just take their designs and just throw it to the developer, and they think, oh yeah, he's just supposed to figure out the rest of the job. You get, and that can lead to a couple of things. That can lead to bad implementation on the part of the developer. I mean, I hear designers complaining a lot that developers don't translate their designs to code. I mean, I feel like about 40%
Hi,
of that
baby
is
girl.
attributed to
How are you?
lack of
I'm so
proper
sorry I've not
communication between
replied
the developer
your
and the
DMs
designer
yet.
as
Yeah.
to what the
After this
developer is trying
bootcamp, I
to,
promise
what the
you we're
designer
going
is
to
trying to
talk
achieve.
well. Okay.
So today's talk will be on
What's
how
up?
we can streamline the collaboration process between developers and designers. So yeah, I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Oluwadare. I'm a front-end dev. Um, I do a little back-end, but mostly front-end. I'm focused on interactive experiences on the web and mostly animations, just making things easier for the users. I'm currently on freelance with Paystack and Printable on contract to build really fun projects. The Paystack thing should be out soon, probably next month. You see what the project was, and then with Printable to revamp user
Bye, best
experience.
friend.
You can find me on any of these two platforms. I'm always on Twitter. I spend like 80% of my time on Twitter. My employer was not here that, but yeah, that is my website, seyi.dev. So can we start? Can we begin the rest of the presentation? Are we good to go?
Yes, we are. You guys should respond to Shay if he asks you questions so it can be interactive. So yeah, Shay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a quote. This is a quote by Mudia that we posted on a group one time, and everybody just started laughing. He was like a developer turned his design to ABC. I have no idea what that means, but we all like understood the metaphor and we started laughing. And then I messaged him that how like what was the handoff process like? Was the developer actively involved in your design process? And we were able to like figure out a few things and then discuss on how we can do it again and achieve that. So we're talking about 6 things basically today. Grouping and file organization, mobile screens, style guides, communication, prototyping if the pages are not static, and then the tools you can handle like Zeppelin and the rest. So yeah, what is developer collaboration? I decided not to use the word handoff because that might be taken out of context. Developer collaboration is the process of curating designs and giving the developer access, allowing the developer to be actively involved in the design process. I won't even lie to you, development begins with design. So design and development are not two completely separate entities. That one most people don't understand. Development begins with design. When the client comes with a project, obviously, as far as they're concerned, the project is going to be developed. So first step is usually design, and then after design, implementation. So as far as I'm concerned, they are still under one umbrella, which is called development. So product managers are, as far as I'm concerned, product developers, because once you design a product and then you give it to the developer to implement, that is implementation. The product has already undergone some form of development during the design phase. So development isn't necessarily part of design as much as UI UX principles are part of development. And I'll explain this quote. This was a reply I gave to someone on Twitter when they were like, designers need to learn HTML and CSS and stuff like that. And I felt like it was unnecessary to get because if developer, at the end of the day, the end goal is the to make a product that users will completely understand, a product that will be easy on the eyes for the user, a product that won't choke the user. So if the developer is actively involved in the design process, that's complete because I noticed that projects I've worked on with Bethel, then I'm usually actively involved in the design process. So even if she doesn't directly communicate to me, I understand what she's trying to achieve when she's building out her pages, the spacing, um, typography, colors. I already have an idea in my mind, and within like a day and a half, we churn out the products we want to put and then push it and post about. Yeah. So the first thing I'll talk about is grouping and file organization. This is really important. I opened the design once and then everything was just all over the place. It just did not work. So if a particular design flow is going to if a particular design flow, let's say from the landing page to about page to contact us, then there are now user pages. It's always really important to offset those into separate files. So you have your um, landing page layout in a separate page. You have your user profiles in a separate page. You have like user settings in a separate page. You get those things are very, very important because as a developer, once I open a Figma file and I don't even know where to look at, or I don't know where to start, there's no complete flow to anything. That might just, yeah, when implementation starts, all I'll do is just get frustrated and probably just write rubbish code. So grouping and file organization is very, very important. And I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm working on something with Modia, and the files are properly categorized. Yes. So there's the user page that has user flow. There's a checkout page that has the checkout flow. There's a cart page that has the cart flow. Everything properly prototyped, and I don't even need to stress to look for this. I don't have to text him so many times. Even though I wasn't involved in his design process, I'm able to like understand. And there's even a separate page for his design components, for like buttons. Mudia likes really big buttons. I have no idea why. Buttons for input fields, for error states on inputs and stuff like that is really, 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 really important. Grouping and file organization is really, really important. As you can see, this guy here has cover presentation. He has his colors, typography, grids, icons. Icons are even in a separate file. So I can export all the icons I need at once into SVGs and offset them into my file, which is really amazing. Dividers, controls, it has forms, it has cards, navigations, and then overlay. Navigations might be, let's say, mobile navigation, and yeah, you have that. Also, you can have a separate page for mobile. Let's say you have some pages that require a redesign in mobile. You can have those there. You can have a mobile sign in when the user is signed in. You can have a mobile version when the user is signed out. Those things are very, very, very important to communicate to the developer what you're trying to achieve. Yeah, also, I mean, the developers, they intuitively know what a particular web application should look like on mobile. But there's some really, really complex. Look at this design. This is okay, by the way. Look at this design. The grids on the right, they are really complex grids. I mean, it will be hard to figure out how those should look on mobile. But he has given an idea of what the flow would be like on mobile, which completely makes life developers. So for really complex layouts, it might be beneficial to both parties to communicate what they're trying to achieve on mobile rather than leaving the developer to wing it. Because all that might lead to is complaints. If you give a developer this now and then, he decides to center the grid on mobile, decides to center the text and then the buttons, and it looks horrible. And then just you come out complain that, oh yeah, the developer doesn't know what he's doing. But it's really, really important to communicate what you're trying to achieve to the developer. But at the end of the day, if the developer is winging it, he'll just do what he feels like is right or what he wants. He might even just leave it on the right side of the screen. So for mobile screen designs, it's really, really important that when you have really complex layouts, you have a separate mobile design. Get that thing that will help them developer design. Another thing is creating style guides. This is the best to communicate to the developer what they're trying to achieve. So some designers call them specifications. So you create style guides for colors, for buttons, for inputs, for modals, for cards, and then you have your general style guides, which things like typography and the rest. So this is an example of a style guide. This is by Darren. She has the primary colors and the different shades they are in, the hex codes. When I want to start developing here, all I just have to do is create a variables file and start importing these colors one by one. So it will be easy to reference those colors when I'm styling the page. For black, she has the different shades. For green, which is probably success state, red, which is like failure state, yellow, maybe like waiting, loading state. Those things are properly categorized. And to be honest, it is the best way. Now, this is one of the things that I feel designers don't like doing because I mean, some designers just create their color palette in the file they are working with, create a quick color palette. Once they are done designing, they delete it, they move it over. But how many style guides have you done? Let me call you out.
I have done 4 style guides and 4 design systems. Style guides and design systems are quite similar, right? So I
Yes,
think,
yes.
yeah, I've done 4 for your information. You think God do not shame me, dear?
Okay, yeah. So style guides are really really important. To be honest, it is really really important. Most times, your style guide might contain things like spacing between elements. I mean, sometimes the developer might not know how to navigate through Figma. You probably give him like a view access and stuff like that. So most times it's better to just communicate, oh, how much space do you want between your button and content of the button? How much spacing do you want between texts? How much space do you want between the component itself and the contents in it? It is very, very important to completely lay those out. So one is consistency. Consistency is very, very important in any design process. I think it is after when you have a design system that is filled with just random colors of different types. I mean, it just doesn't look good. So consistency is very, very important. If you have primary colors of pink, you have primary colors of blue, you get, and you have different shades. Let it maintain that same flow. You have states for success as green. Let it maintain that same flow. One thing I've noticed is, especially with typography, I've noticed is that some designs are not consistent. Someone uses a font size of 16 for text, for paragraph text. In another place, you see font size of 14 for the same paragraph text. You'll be confused that what is this person trying to achieve? Are those subtexts? So another way to do that is to lay out that, oh yeah, this is the title, this is the header, this is the font size, this is the header 2, this is the font size, this is header 3, the font size, the font weight. Those things are really, really, really important. Consistency is really important in design because once a developer has, oh, and it makes the work faster, the development work faster for the clients, and then you guys are just happy. If I want to develop a particular application now, I already know, oh, I don't have to come and check the Figma file every time because I know, oh, my header text have a font size of like 32 pixels. They have a font weight of this. My sub headers have this. My my buttons have this particular font sizing. My paragraphs have this particular font sizing. And once I know those values, I don't need to come to the Figma file to check again. Same thing goes for colors. Same thing goes for paddings, for padding values, like spacing values. Once I know those, I already know what you're trying to achieve, and I maintain that same consistency. And at the end of the day, you just have a really, really clean page. You get one thing that Bethel does really well is the consistency of our layout. You get, so I think because it's trying to achieve asymmetry with some aspect of the design.
Thank you very much, sir.
Consistent. In as much as she try to achieve asymmetry with some aspects of the design, her padding values, her spacing values on every page she designs will be consistent. That way, you stick to one, and it just looks visually appealing to you, the designer, to you, the designer, the developer, the client, and the users. So consistency is another important thing. Another thing is to communicate with the developers. Very, very important. One thing I do is when because most times the designers will not ask me, when I'm building an application, as I push changes, I push it to a dummy link, like a work in progress link. So the developer reviews immediately. The designer reviews immediately that, oh, the designer reviews immediately that, oh, you have this particular thing doesn't fit. The spacing between this and this is not accurate. Can you tweak it a bit? So communication with the developers during implementation is very, very important. You can't just create your designs and just hand it off to developers. That's why I don't like the word handoff and then leave them. And then you ask again in another 5 days, oh, is the project complete? And they send you a completed project and it just doesn't look like what you want. Then iterations will now have to be made when the project has been done. So that process is just is not it. It's, as far as I'm concerned, during design, during the development, it should be between the two of you. So have like a handshake deal with your developer. If you know the developer beforehand, have a deal with him that oh, he's going to be coming in to look at your files from time to time. And also as you're developing, as he's developing, you're going to need to see like very preview links. That way you can run tests while he's still in development. Iterations can be easily made and the product will come out exactly how both of you want it to come out. So communication with the developer or the development team is also very important. I feel the designer should be actively involved in the development process. This way, iterations and changes can be made as needed. Also, I've said this so many times, collaborate with the developer, do not hand off, man. It's one thing that Daniel was telling me about recently that, oh, sometimes he hates how like front-end devs handle his work. And he has noticed that the guys that actually bring up pixel perfect designs are the developers he communicates with, that people he really knows on a personal level. And I think that you don't even need to know the developer on a personal level to like give him advice and change things. Nobody will get angry if you, I mean, it's all for the user. Nobody will get angry if you make changes or iterations to their work. It's not possible. So it's very, very important that you communicate with the developer. If anytime I'm building a project, especially if it's like better, we always make changes. The first thing we built together was, I mean, I was just starting out then, so it was laid out everywhere. But the fact that I had Bethel tell me, oh yeah, spacing between these two things should be tweaked a bit, and you get, she made me better. So as far as I'm concerned, if you are helping developer, you are also helping yourself on the long run. Because if you get to work with him again, he already knows how you work, he already knows what your design process is, what your design language is, and it's just easier to build products on the long run with dev. Again, proper prototyping is also very, very important. It might be something as simple as, oh, I click on a button, where does this take me to? You get, most times you have the pages side by side, that's all well and good. But even if you don't want to prototype, create a link. If you check out this view image from a video I watched on YouTube, you can see she created a link between the pages that, oh, on this page, this is the next page that I'm supposed to go to, this is the next action. So that way, you're carrying out your user flow already during in the design. It is very, very important that you do that. Carve out your user flow. When a user clicks on a particular link or a particular button or a drop down, prototype that. If you can't prototype it, let's say you have static pages, create links between pages. Let it visually tell the developer what you're trying to achieve. It is really, really important that you visually tell the developer what you're trying to achieve. At the end of the day, you still have to prototype as far as I'm concerned. If you have like really complex pages, you have pages with like drop downs with interactivity all over, prototyping helps. Because let's say you're trying to animate a particular drop down in a specific way and the developer doesn't like get the easy, doesn't get what you're trying to achieve just because he clicked on the button and nothing happened and he just expected that, oh yeah, that is how it should be too. So proper prototyping is important. If it's really static pages, just have buttons go to the next or the previous page or create a link between those two pages. You can also use handoff tools. I've checked out Zeppelin. Zeppelin is really good for like handing off to the developer. There's InVision, there's Avocode, there's Sketch Measure. For interaction designers, you can use, there are tools like Principle. When you use them to animate, you can send the files over. There's Lottie. Lottie is actually really amazing. Um, it's really amazing for like handoff. So when you build an animation or a particular user interaction, you build it with whatever tool you want to use. You can also export them to Lottie. That way, the developer has an idea. Oh, this is what the easing on this particular item will be. And to be honest, if you do all those things I said before, you might not need handoff tools. You might not need handoff tools. So again, communication between the developer and the designer is really, really, really important. I mean, it's something that I cannot really stress enough because most of the time, most of the time, when you tell the designer, when a developer tells the designer, oh, these particular pages are not like I'm not understanding what's going on with these pages, or can't do this particular thing, or the design feels too complex. It's just you might be born out of frustration on the way the pages are laid out. So it's very, very important that you do those things, have an organized file structure, communicate with the developer, make iterations during development, and tell the developer, oh, this is what I'm trying to achieve with these pages. References. I got my references from this. Those images are from this guy on Twitter. The second image is from Daring Solar on Twitter. His design system. So I'll take on another part, but before we do that, I don't know if anyone has any questions for me.
Wow. She came for our wigs though. Well, okay. Um guys, if you have questions, please you can type it out in the chat section, or you could just like unmute yourself and let's hear you. So does anybody have questions? Okay, I think somebody just unmuted. Okay, hi.
Hi. Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Even
Yeah, I wanted to ask, can't you use Figma to hand off a project to a developer?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can
Let me ask you.
Can Can you use
you can use
Figma to hand over a project to a developer?
yes. I use
Okay.
Figma all the time. People give me Figma files all the time. Do you have some have you heard of something else? Or is it because I mentioned the handoff tools?
Yeah. That's one. Like,
Yeah, those
do you have
handoff
like
tools are
the advantages? Is it like they are more they have the advantages over Figma to handle it?
yeah, the thing is Figma can handle some of those things. It's just that with Zeppelin, most times you have a particular design system already, you put it online, and especially if you are working with like really huge teams, Zeppelin is a really good tool. But if
Okay.
it's just you and the developer, just hand over the Figma file, and handing over again means checking up on the designer. Or while you're even in the design process, have the designer already invited and just give him view access. So as you're building out the components, even if you just have a blank canvas for now, invite him to the file once you start. You guys start having conversations, and when you hand the files over to him, he already knows what he's supposed to do.
All right. Thank you. Is it free? Zeppelin.
It's premium.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I also have a question, or let me just quickly add a little bit from like the designer aspect here. The reason why you should pay close attention to whatever your developer is doing, yeah, is so as that they don't turn your design to egusi, like media says. Because a lot of developers assume, yeah, there are some times that she too has assumed that, oh, this is just supposed to be here. Oftentimes he's right, but sometimes too, that's not what I had in mind. So being collaborative with your developer is very important, even in the company structure. If you're working in a company structure and there are developers there, don't just say, oh, I finished designing, let me just go and drop off the design. No, go to wherever the designer is, or wherever the developer is rather, and just say, oh, how far now, let me see how far you have gone. Do you get? So just my 2 pounds, not my 2 cents. So does anybody else have questions? We're taking questions. If you're shy to talk, you can just put it in the comment section, and you can also unmute yourself and talk. Anybody else? So wait, these are people are trying to tell me that. Let me check YouTube. Sorry, I just tell me that this session was so understandable. Like you understood everything that he said, and those of you that are on Twitter, you have never wanted to ask Seyi any question before. If you have ever wanted to ask Seyi a question, please ask him now. Yeah. So please just
Okay.
okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Who happens to do both design and development? Which one would you say the person should focus on more, if that is a thing?
Um, okay, how do I? There's no way my answer will not be,
Don't be
because at the end of
biased.
the day, if you start off as a designer, yeah, if you start off as a designer, um, you have a better chance of becoming a very good front end developer, because you have an eye for design. I mean, front enders are not going to like what I'm saying, but you already have an eye for design. You already know like things that you should achieve. So writing CSS or writing HTML or trying to style your pages, it might not be like easy, but at least you have that eye for design. So if something is like 2 pixels away from where it's supposed to be, you already know that, oh, this needs to be straightened out, and then you move it 2 pixels back to where it is.
Okay. I think from the
Alright.
So I feel,
from
yeah,
the designer's
I feel
aspect.
take from this start from design. Start from design, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you really if you start on design, learn design. If you feel you can still pick up front end development and move to that.
Because I'm doing both of them concurrently, and every once in a while, I'm like, do I not just pick a side, like choose one side of the fence to remain on? And it gets confusing, honestly.
How do you have like problems?
Not necessarily. Like, I feel like if I'm going to focus on a career in tech, I should specialize, like people always tend to say. But I am
Well, I
finding
mean,
it very hard to pick a side.
yeah, don't pick. See, the thing is, specialization is a very, when it comes to design and front ends, I feel they are one.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying this because at the end of the day, so you're not really specializing. The only specialization you're doing is you're picking what the user is going to see rather than focusing on like architecture, like backend and
Mm-hmm.
DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only specialization you're doing. Right now, I've been picking up design a bit because the teams I've been working with, the front end developers are also designers.
Yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
also from
so
the design and when you need one thing, if you're applying abroad, most international companies always expect that as a UI designer, you should have a knowledge of front end. Do you get? So like being a UI designer and a front end developer is a very good match. Do you get? Because
At the
you
same
at the same time, yes, it's a very good match because it
you know,
gives you. Yeah, sure, I'm listening.
well, it's not compulsory that this
It's not
time.
compulsory. Yeah, definitely not compulsory. It's definitely not compulsory. It just gives you like a leverage over some people. Do you get? So imagine as Seyi is really good now, he now knows a lot about design. He can like design his own website and still build it. It gives him leverage. Do you get? So by standard, yeah, as a UI, in fact, it's not supposed to be UI UX. Yeah, UX is on its own in most international companies. Like it's a separate aspect on its own. And oftentimes you see UI and front end because they work coherently, like they work together oftentimes. Do you get? So being a UI designer that now has a knowledge of front end dev is just like a big leverage. Do you get? And that's why there are now tools that help designers have a knowledge of front end, like Webflow, for instance. Do you get? Okay, she just left the meeting. I think she'll join back. But for everybody, Webflow gives you like a front end feel to it. Do you get? So Having a knowledge of front end and being a designer is actually a very big leverage. So that's what I always advise people. Terry, you're muted. Do you want to ask a question?
Hi, Shay.
Hi.
Sorry, I've always wanted to ask the question. Please, what's the difference between a front-end engineer and a UI developer? Not a UI designer now, a UI developer. Because I've seen
Yeah,
that
a
term.
UI developer translates designs to code. Front-end engineer is involved like a lot more architecture.
Okay.
So they are animation developers too, like interaction developers. They are creative developers. They are all still front-end. But someone asked, I'll answer the questions. But a UI developer is mostly concerned with the what the user sees. You get that's what is mostly concerned with churning out the pages, helping with user interaction. But a front-end engineer is involved with a lot more because front-end is not just building out the layout, there's functionality. You get like things like communicating with the backend, adding interactions, handling form input, things like that. Front-end engineers are more specialized doing that. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's still all almost the same thing.
All right. Thank
People
you.
just want to do, yeah.
Okay, so let me read out the questions for you. Shagun says, are we going to do any practicals?
What practical do you want? I'm a
So,
developer, I'm not a designer. So
good.
I mean,
Okay.
I've designed once or twice, but nothing to show any practical.
Okay, so Joseph says, is it advisable to allow the developer make comments in your Figma design file instead of just waiting
Developers
for?
can developers can make comments in a file you just give them zero access to now. Can they?
They
I
can, but
think they
like,
can, yeah.
is it ethical? Ethical.
Yes, now how else should the developer understand? I make comments a lot with especially when I'm working with teams. I make comments to
Okay, so I
the
think what
Figma
he's
file.
saying is that instead of just waiting for the developer to get to the file first, why not just involve the developer from the beginning? Do you get?
Yes, that's what I've been saying since. Involve the developer from the beginning. They do not need edit access.
Yeah.
Most times they might not even know how to navigate their way around Figma. Figma is really easy to use. So even if you give them edit access, it's still the same thing. You
Yeah.
can create a playground for them where they
Yeah.
can like
Just try it out.
export different things. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
and that'll be all.
Very true. Like you guys about this collaboration thing with developers, it cannot be overemphasized because I think that is the solution to a lot of egusi designs out there. Do you get? So if you just collaborate with your developer from the beginning, you avoid a lot of egusi design. I know there are times when she and I will stay up all night working on a particular design where we even had clients together and we work on the design together overnight just to emphasize, just to show that it should come out the way we want it to. Do you get? So involving the designer in the process gives the designer, sorry, involving the developer in the process rather gives the developer like a say please what is egusi design? Shall you explain what egusi design is to you?
Ask me, girl.
Muja is the only one that can explain egusi design. So collaborating with your developer reduces like even I know there are times when I've worked with Shade that there are things that I cannot fully explain, like there's some things that are not fully understandable with the design, but because he was with me through the process and I'm like, oh Shade, I think I want to add this feature. Do you get? Then we brainstorm on it together and he's like, okay, why not just do it like this, like this. And the funny thing is that he actually has like a large knowledge of design, so having a developer that has a knowledge of design is actually like also a plus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier for developers to understand design than it is
Design.
for designers to know how to code.
Yeah, because if you do copy and paste.
We don't do, let's not start. At the end of the day, all the story should be concerned about is your users.
Yes.
To be honest, nobody needs to learn front end, nobody needs to learn. But it is important that you bring out something that will be good for the user. I'll give you an example. There's a page I was working on that had like a fixed navbar and a fixed footer. I was telling the designer that this is going to choke the user,
Say chook.
and it's a really text-heavy project. It's going to choke the user because if you're scrolling up and then the footer is always fixed, the nav is always fixed.
Yeah.
There'll be less things to read.
Read, yes.
There'll be fewer words to read. So to help the user experience, when the user scrolls up, why not hide the footer and the navigation? Animate it. When the user scrolls back down, then you show your nav and footer again. So things like that. I mean, if you've not had any experience with, like, you just bring out anything that, oh, should we just bring out anything that, oh yeah, the user will just use it like that. It won't work.
Yeah.
So if you communicate well with the developers, you are inadvertently teaching them your basic UI and UX principles. You get.
Yeah, I think another thing I
And
even did with Seyi was that I used him as a sample user, in the sense that whenever I design something, like maybe I'm done designing like the entire design and I'm like, oh, take, and he navigates through and he now points out that, okay, when I was here, I was stuck. Okay, what does this mean? So having a developer would also give you like that edge of A/B testing. Yeah, that you can also use your developer to test how good your design might do with other users, because your developer is also like a sample user. Do you get? So the whole thing about and as designers, yeah, don't say because he's a developer he cannot make comments to your design. Like, don't be adamant to receiving feedback from your developer. I think that's also another issue most designers make. Yeah, don't be adamant to receiving feedback from your developer. If your developer says that he's not convenient with this, or if your developer even says the design is too hard, change it. Unless you have a goosey design. So in order not to have a goosey design, do something simple enough that your users, that is aesthetically pleasing, your users can understand, and it's good for your developer, and it's easy for your developers to code and understand also. So yeah, my $2.
I have a question.
Yeah, Winnie.
sure, shoot.
Okay, what would you describe as the most ethically appropriate way to communicate when the developer does turn your design to a goosey? Like, how do you navigate that?
Bro, you turned my design to a goosey.
Oh, I have never experienced that.
Because
But
I feel like we've talked about it a lot, like to avoid it happening. But what happens? Like, how do you navigate when it happens? Because it's not possible that in your entire line of or your entire career as a designer that would not happen. So what do you do when someone turns your design to a goosey? What's the
that's a
way
question for
forward
more
from
of a
there?
designer
Okay, let me
than
let me
me.
answer. The first time
Okay.
somebody turned my design to a goosey, yeah, I told him that, okay, come, this was not what I designed. Yeah, like I said it up straight, this was not what I designed. And he now explained to me that, yeah, he's trying out his hand and all. So I said, okay, if you are trying out your hand, like, you could have communicated that with me. He was with me through the entire process, and he was all hyped up that, okay, this is something new for him. The interactions I did were all new, and he was like, oh my god, I want to try this, I want to try this, I want to try. And that was before like she came into my life and everything. He was all excited that, oh, I want to try this, I want to try this. So now there are also developers that lie to you that they can do something when they cannot. Hence why if a developer does not have a portfolio, it makes me very skeptical. Yeah, if I can't see any of his works, it makes me very skeptical, because when you see Seyi's works, you can know the type of design to give him that he can handle. Do you guys understand? So
Come on, give me any design. I'm trying to get better.
don't be
So
proud. So when you see things like that, whenever he now turns your design to a goosey, communicate with him that, okay, oh, this was not what I designed. If he can't handle it, like if it's too much for him, then you go back and redesign to something that he can handle. Do you get? Or you change developer, simple. Because they used to change designer too. So you just probably communicate to your clients that okay, the designer that they got, sorry, the developer that they got doesn't um communicate the design or doesn't interpret or translate the design the way it is. Do you get? So like there's sometimes that clients will like my design, but the developer can't do it. And in that moment, I tell them, let's change the developer. Do you get? So it's both. It's a win-win situation. Sorry for the developer. You should go on. And I think also something about development or design and development is that encourage your developers to learn. Yeah, there were so many things that um quote and unquote Seyi did not know initially. There's this pizza design that we did. It was both new to both of us. Yeah. But like he was willing to learn. Do you get? So in moments like that when you turn your design to egusi, you can probably send him tutorial videos of what you are trying to communicate. Let him watch it and do it. But if you know you don't have that time, then change developer and communicate that okay, you don't like the outcome. Simple. Does that answer your question, Eni?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Good. Shay, we have more questions in the comment section. Okay.
Sure.
Please, why is the knowledge of front end an added advantage? Is it simply about working well with the developers, or are there some other specifics to it?
To be honest, I don't feel designers should learn HTML and CSS. If you want to, why not? As far as I'm concerned, if you know HTML and CSS, what are you going to add to the developer? There's no need. You've done your job. You get. This class is about streamlining communication between the two of you. It's not about you learning. Designers don't need to learn HTML and CSS. That's the developer's work for take. So, if the developer simply doesn't know what to do, you get. You can as well just change developers as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
But I feel the developers should know UI UX. It's not. People try to make it a debate that since you want me to know a little bit of UI UX, then you must know a little bit of code. At the end of the day, what works better for the users? You get.
Yeah. So I think everything that Shay has said now has always been centered around the users. It's not about you. Yeah. It's not about the developer also. It's about you and the developer coming together. Yeah, exactly.
And like proud that I'm doing my job. Then you get. But at the end of the day,
please
some
don't
people
look
will be
for our
like,
wigs
design is very
now.
easy. You get. They try to belittle someone else's work. I've seen developers that'll say, design is very easy. I want to switch from development to design. I mean, when I was designing my portfolio, I basically had a blank canvas for about for about half a day. Like I used another 5 hours to pick between colors, and because I wanted it to be on like bright mode.
Yeah.
You get. I was like, you know what? I'm switching to dark mode. Where to be easier to use colors. So design is not easy. Development also has its. Development is not copy and paste to affect. So everyone has their focus. At the end of the day, the main focus should be the user and not each other.
Exactly. Be user-centric. Come together, both designer and developer, to solve a user's problem. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the main goal.
That's the main goal. Okay, so what is the difference between front end and back end developers?
Okay. A front-end developer handles he handles what the user sees. He handles user feedback, handles user interaction, handles user flow. A back-end developer does more of providing the user with the information that they can see, providing specific data to the user from the backend, handling user information, storing them in a database. I'll give you an example of Twitter. Twitter definitely has a front end, a back end. I don't even know. But let's just pick out the front end and the back end thing. When you log on to twitter.com, it fetches all the feeds from your timeline. Those feeds are fetched from a particular API. Let's say /Twitter/user/timeline. Now the API has been built by the backend guy. But for you to see your tweets and then your followers tweet and your followers retweet, all that has been handled by the backend team. Probably a whole load of functionality for you to be able to see that. So the backend guy handles the APIs, the little microservices. The front end guy just handles, oh, I'm grabbing this information. How do I display it? You get, how do I display it to the user? The user wants to post a tweet. Do I open a form, a modal for them? Do I open a form for them? Or just let them tweet in a text area easily? So there is very, very important that, oh yeah, even as a front end dev, you most likely have to know a little, just very little backend because you need to know how servers work. As a front end dev, when I started last year, I was like, you know what, I'll first learn how to build designs. So I texted better and I was like, you know what, I mean, she heard me at first, but I texted again
Please
and I was like,
now.
yeah, let's work together. Let's work together on stuff. And as I moved on, I decided to like understand how servers work. So I went to backend and I did a little backend and I came back to front end to like study it and get better at it. So the front end is to handle the user's response, visual response. The back end is to handle user data and all of that kind of data, user information and stuff like that. Yeah, hope I answered the question.
Yes, sir. I've answered our question. Okay, next question says, hi Shay, what language do you use to program? Flutter. Which language would you personally say is the best to use? Please don't say Python. Shay will not mention Python.
Yeah, I don't code in Python.
So let's
Yeah,
let's
if you
settle
want
it
to,
now. Let's settle it now. Flutter or Vue?
the Flutter is for mobile now.
Okay, Flutter is one. So
Flutter is for
Vue or
mobile.
React?
Yeah,
Sorry, Vue or React.
yeah. They all have. I can't be doing framework wars here. They all have the advantages and disadvantages. There are reasons why people like them. You get, it might be because some people tried React first and then they just like how React works and then they went to Vue and they saw that, oh yeah, they just don't like the syntax, it feels weird. You get, some people might try React and feel that, oh, some things Vue gives me that React doesn't give you. So everyone like has a personal. As far as I'm concerned, I don't like, I mean, I get that people are opinionated, but I don't try to bash any other person's work or any other person's what they love or what they use. So as far as I'm concerned, the language that you want to use depends on what you're trying to achieve. Get, if you want to be on web, you can learn JavaScript. If you want to like study backend, well, there's Python, there's JavaScript on the backend too. So as far as I'm concerned, I just learn JavaScript. There's JavaScript on the front end, on the back end. I currently use JavaScript, only JavaScript right now on anything I do, and it works well for me.
Okay, great. Next question. That's what I said. What is egusi design? I think simply put, egusi design is when you design something really beautiful and your developer does rubbish with it. So Mudia calls it egusi design.
Yeah.
And sir, Shegu says, Shay sir, can we be friends? Please say yes. I'll message you on Twitter. So
Yeah, if you can message, yeah, you can always message me on Twitter if you want to learn the person doing design and development. If you need help with anything development, you can text me on Twitter. If you need help
Okay,
with
I
anything,
tried to search your handle and I'm not sure which one is you.
okay. I think he'll put it in the
oh,
comment section. Should I just put your hand in the comment section?
come on, do I know it offhand? You know, let me just
Shay
get a link to it.
underscore XO.
2 underscores.
Yes, 2 underscores.
Oh. Oh, I think I saw that account, but I thought you were a woman.
Yeah.
A woman, okay. Oh,
Oh.
my header, yeah. Yeah, my header, my friend, yeah. Any of
Mm. Yeah, guys.
yeah,
So
let's talk
Ron.
about design.
Okay, I just followed.
Okay.
All right, I'll check it out.
Okay, Ron says you mentioned front end engineers and front end developers. Are front end devs just to create the designed UIs and neglecting the API communication and display
No,
of
no.
data from the server? Server. Sorry.
The thing is, see, most people try to give themselves a particular name because actually we are working with like a huge team or decide that I know some front end devs that they're not really good with design, so they don't touch that aspect. They just focus more on functionality and then get better.
Yeah.
Get, but at the end of the day, once you call yourself a front end dev, it's more about doing everything. You get. But if you now want to specialize, you cannot specialize. I'm not so if you have to work with a team, you cannot have someone handle the APIs. You can't if you're working alone as a front end dev, you can't neglect the APIs. How do you want to show user the information that you've received? You get. So a front end dev, UI designer, UI engineer, front end dev, whatever you call yourself, is still front end. So if you're working with a team, you cannot decide to specialize and do one, and then someone else specializes and does one. You dig. It makes more sense that way.
Yeah,
Any
we
other
dig.
question?
I think Bisaya Bisaya asked also. She was the one that asked about the advantage of knowing design and front end. And she mentioned again that Bethel mentioned it as an advantage when applying to international firms. So here's why I said that. Um, I wanted to apply to Google one particular time, and I have a friend that works at Google, and he was telling me that he asked me that what area was I particular in. I said UI UX. He said you can't do both, yeah, because in Google, UX is an entire team, yeah. UI is an entire team, and the engineers are entire team. Engineers are the front end and the back end devs, you get. So, but he said that the reason why I can't do UI and UX is because UI and the UX guys do a lot of field work, research, and also is it that I would like to be part of the process with them. And I was like, oh, it's not really my flair. Did you get? And he was like, yeah, that's what most UI people say. So he understands that, okay, you are better with the visuals. So if you're good with the visuals, he was like, then you work more with the front end guys. And he was like, for me to probably want to enjoy my stay in Google, or for me to want to work with Google, like while applying to give me an edge, is to have a vast knowledge of front end. Do you get? So that's why when you see some applications, some international applications, they'll say, when they say UI UX designer, you see things like must have a knowledge of HTML and CSS. I don't know if you guys have seen those type of applications before. That's because
Yeah.
as a UI designer, you're supposed to have at least you must have knowledge of what front end is about. You might not be able to do it fully, yeah, because your specialized area is UI UX, but you must also have like a knowledge of how to go about it. Do you get? So you must be able to communicate well. Exactly. I think that's the major thing. Communication with with your developer. You must be able to use certain terms when communicating with your developer so that he can understand very well. So that's why it's good to have the knowledge of front end. So like it just gives you an upper leverage really. So next
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
question. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess so. But if you're a UI designer and there's a job description that's saying you must know HTML, please run. Because that's exactly what they want you to be doing.
That's the thing.
They want
It's a
they want
Nigerian
they want
mentality.
you to design.
This
They want
is
you to design and then do and code it
code
at the same time.
exactly.
Makes no
So
sense.
exactly, it's for us. I'm saying like it's in Nigeria that it makes no sense because most Nigerian user interface designers were not built to learn front end jiggers. We just hand off to the designers, but internationally these people have both knowledge of because most of them start with WordPress. Yeah, when I started designing, I started out with WordPress. And with WordPress, you still do a little back end and a little front end and change a lot of things in the code. Do you get? So that kind of gave me leverage that, okay, I know how to do WordPress. Yeah. But abroad, if you're going to be like a user interface designer, your interface must be complete and front end is also part of the interface. Am I right, Seyi?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess you're right. But again, that is
Run.
why some people have like UI UX engineers to bridge the gap
Exactly.
between a developer and a
A
designer.
designer,
So
exactly.
I mean, one thing Americans do well is like they specialize.
Exactly.
Like even their job descriptions are really specialized. In Nigeria, someone can say they want a UI developer. You start mentioning things like Java or
Up
PHP. I
front,
mean,
they want
it
full
just
stack. They want full stack
it's ridiculous.
developers, and the full
Yeah.
stack developer is only good with front end and is not good with back end. And that's a culture that I think we need to build here in Nigeria, specializing and not micromanaging. if I tell you that I'm a user interface designer, you should be good enough to hire me as a user interface designer, because I don't want to do UX, or I don't want to do front end. I just want to do the UI. Do you get? So having one person on your team, like you have one UX researcher, one UI designer, one front end, one back end. That's a complete team. Do you get? And everybody is focusing on their job. You're not trying to do UX and do UI. You're not trying to do front end and do back end. You'll just be overwhelmed. Do you get? So specialization, like I said in previous classes, it's so funny how we have mentioned the specialization thing in almost every class. Specialization is very important. So if you want to do UX writing, focus on the UX writing. Like I always say, people that specialize are the ones that make millions, because they're not trying to be evergreen. They're not trying to spend a period of time learning something completely new. Do you get? So if you specialize, please, that's just it. If you can even go to school and learn it, it's just like, I don't even know how to describe what it's like, but like it's a very huge advantage when you specialize in one particular area. So like Seyi said, specialization is very, very key and very important. So yeah, let me get to the next question. Hi Seyi, please what advice can you give someone new to programming that is having issues with learning their first language? So maybe something along the lines of the best way to learn.
For me,
Yes, dear.
the best way to learn is to jump directly into it. One thing I don't like is me. I noticed that, I mean, my attention span is not the best, especially if I'm learning something I'm not really comfortable with. You get, because at this time last year, I mean, I was doing accounting. So no, not last year, 2 years ago, I was in accounting. So when I jumped into tech last year, it felt like a really new experience for me. And I noticed that if I want to watch like an 11-hour course and try to follow along with what they are building all the time, it just doesn't work for me. So what I do is I watch a brief intro course into what I'm learning and just dive into a project. That's what when I was learning React, I dived into a project that Anu built. He prototyped it online. I was like, yeah, I can build this. It was like a calendar app. So for me, what works for me is, if I want to pick up view, if you check the project on my pinned tweet, I built that thing like a day after watching, or okay, 2 days after watching an input tutorial to Vue and Next. So I just watched a quick tutorial. It was like 2-3 hours. I watched it, and then I just dove right into building something amazing with it. And I was like picking stuff off along the way. It works. That's what works for me. So if you're struggling to pick up a language, I feel the best way is to just dive into building something with it. And if you're struggling with some particular things, the developer community is really great. You might not even need to directly have a mentor. You can just go online, search. Don't copy and paste code, please. I mean, devs do that a lot. I'm just not really try to understand. Even if you're going to copy and paste, try to understand how the code works. Read up. If the code involves an array method, something that you've not heard before, something that you've not seen before, check the docs, see how that works. Come back to the code. It will be easier to understand. You can now rewrite it in your own way or copy and paste. And when you copy and paste, go back and rewrite it in your own way. So the best way to learn for me is to dive right into what you're learning, dive right into it, and build with it. You get.
Yay.
That's what I do.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very insightful. So guys, any more questions? Let me check on YouTube if we have any question on YouTube. Okay. We have. So guys, is there any other question? You could just unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, so somebody.
Yeah, good afternoon. I have a question.
Hi, good afternoon.
Okay, sure.
Shay, good afternoon. Thanks for the training. So my question is more related to development.
Okay, sure.
What's your thought process when you see a design? Or I know you said working side by side with your designer goes a long way, but then when it comes to already putting yourself in that already working on your mindset on how to go about the project, what's your thought process? How do you look at the design and okay, this is exactly how I'm going to implement this? I don't even understand what I'm saying, because for me,
to be honest,
it's quite difficult to. I think one of the challenges I have right now is converting maybe because my CSS skill is quite not good or that or thereabout, but then I would like to know what your thought process is. I've seen your works, I really like them. And I'd like to know what your work process is.
Okay,
Okay,
sure.
so
Sorry, I think Eliana wants to ask a question. Eliana, do you have a question? Okay, I think she does not know that she's unmuted. Okay, okay, you can continue,
okay,
Shay.
so
Sorry, it's a
yeah,
mistake.
No problem.
Eliana, now, wow. So Sean, back to you. Yeah, I love that question to be honest, because I feel the best way to learn is to find what works for you. That might take longer, but once you have direction, like speed is inevitable as far as I'm concerned. Find what works for you, and I'll tell you what works for me. When I'm looking at the design, like when I look at the design, I spend about 10% of the time or 20% of the time studying the layout. So, I mean, it feels like the Queen's Gambit, where you see her moving chess pieces on the ceiling. I'm already writing like the code in my head. Oh, I know I'm going to flex this. I know I'm going to put this side by side, my margin top, margin. You get so with that way, I already have like the scheme in my head, the scheme of oh, how I want this particular page design to go, and then I run it. For animations, because I really like animations, I play around with it a lot. While I'm building out a page, animations come to my head immediately. So I mean, for me, I like motion designers, but if anybody gives me anything to build, I have to add animations, even if they don't prototype it, even if they don't animate it. As far as it's something that will be visually appealing to the users, it might be something as simple as a loading state or an error animation. And I've been looking into error animations recently because when an error occurs, I mean, try to play around and just give the user a really nice visual experience. But for me, when I look at a particular design, no matter how complex the layout looks, I think about the code in my head. Another thing I do is I try to look up really modern CSS layout guides. There's something called modern. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know if you can see that. There's something called modern CSS.dev. I really like
Yeah,
this
sure.
page
I
because
can see your screen, sure.
yeah, so it's like a series. They tell you, oh, how to do this particular thing, how to do this particular thing, like CSS only responsive full images. You get these guys are really, really. It's a woman handling it, a lady. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, or follow the right people on Twitter. You get, or follow the right topics. Those guys post CSS tricks a lot, or just follow CSS tricks on Twitter. You get, it's just that's just how it is. Learn, learn CSS tricks. It helps improve your thought process. You might not even need to practice it. Once you read an article, it is in your head, whether you like it or not. It is just it's stuck somewhere there. And once you're looking at the particular design, you start writing the scheme in your head, and even it might take like longer to build out at the end of the day. But once you build it out, you're not even. It's going to be easier because you've done it once already in your head, and just typing it out is just muscle memory. So that is my process for translating designs to code.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm going to be reaching out a lot. I hope that is fine.
Sure. I mean, I'm always open to replying anyone when I can.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So from YouTube, somebody asks, could you recommend projects for front end beginners?
Okay, so yeah, to me, I feel there are two types of projects. The projects for your portfolio, and there are projects to get better at stuff. One, it doesn't mean that one cannot be both. You get. So if you are building things like JavaScript calculators, JavaScript clocks, I mean, those are good projects to learn JavaScript. It will teach you a lot of things. But if a client goes to your portfolio and all they see are like JavaScript calculators and they want to build an enterprise website for their business, they're not going to call you. I'm not even kidding. They're never going to call you. That's why, for me, the best thing to do is to reach out to a designer. I mean, there are so many designers right now. If you see any of their works that you like, just contact them. Build out their designs. Almost all the designs in my portfolio are from Bethel, if not all, sir.
Oh,
You get so almost all the projects I did last year, and I started out last year. Bethel had helped me achieve a particular growth that I didn't even think I could. You get so I mean it has been imagine like working for Paystack within like 7 or 8 months of like learning how to code. It was just I didn't even think of applying last year. I was more focused on learning. So for me, the best thing to do is to reach out to, if you want to go really creative, look for creative developers. If you want to learn how to build complex layout, look for developers that build complex layout, designers that build complex layouts. If you want to learn how to animate, look for motion designers or designers that prototype. Design is the best way to build out really amazing projects. I won't even lie. And if you don't want to learn design yourself, just look for a designer, collaborate with them. I'm open to collaborating with the designers this year. I won't lie, especially with
Wow.
like really creative projects. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
Please, you heard that too. Hold him by his word. If you have any project that you want to collaborate with
Please,
Seyi, please reach
creative
out.
projects. Um,
Creative projects, please reach out to
yeah,
him.
creative projects. Yeah, please reach
Yeah.
out to me. I'll make our
Um.
time.
So somebody else asked, as a developer, do you need to understand or have a knowledge of design?
Yes, this is something I always stand by. Developers don't like hearing that because, I mean, as far as everyone is specialized, it might not be something that you consciously pick up. It's something that you pick up unconsciously. The more designers you work with, the more designers you communicate and collaborate with, the more design is embedded into your system.
Yeah.
You get the more design is embedded into your thought process. So at the end of the day, a front end dev is still always going to pick up design. I was working on particular charts and graphs with one company, and like I didn't like how the charts were exporting. I didn't like how they were exporting as SVGs. So I told the designer, give me edit access. If you can't give me edit access, create a playground for me, export those graphs. Yes, with Figma, I was able to mask and clip some of those graphs. And if I didn't have any knowledge of design, there's no way I would have been able to do that. Either I do that or I'll have just manually added the clip parts, which would have been really hard to do. So I'm not saying you should know how to use Figma. Figma is really easy to use. I won't even lie. Like you don't even need any tutorial to like pick up some basic stuff. So designers do not need to be UI designers, but as far as I'm concerned, there's some basic UI and UX principles embedded in front end that you must know as a developer, or that you should know as a developer. Yeah.
Just to clarify, when he says playground is creating a separate Figma file on aside the main design page. Like you could just copy and paste into a new Figma file, and the designer or whoever rather can just like play around with it. So hence calling it a playground. So somebody else. Okay, before I take this question, let me take this one. Somebody asked that are all these products imaginary products? Sorry, are these all imaginary products and businesses? Like all the things that you
Oh, you
have
mean
in your
like practice?
yeah in yeah.
Yes, they are. The main products I've built or I'm building, I cannot post them. I mean,
Eh,
if I can't put them in my portfolio because it is not mine. It was so the best things to post on your portfolio are projects you like. If it's a project you played around with someone, it might not be a full-on product. You can post it there. Why not? But if it's a particular company's project that you worked on with like a team and stuff like that, and which is mostly what I've done, I cannot post it. It would be nice if they credit you and stuff like that. There's a company I'm working with now. I mean, they're definitely going to credit me when the project drops. I get to quote like if they tweet about it, I get to quote about it, quote the tweet and then put it on my website this thing. But I get to put them as a company I've worked with, but I don't think putting the project in my portfolio would work out. Yes.
And I think also
Before you put a project on your portfolio, especially like if you work alone on the front end or on the back end, please ask the client.
yes,
It's very important.
very important.
Ask the client.
Don't assume. Yeah, because
Don't assume, please.
NDA can be
I mean,
NDA is very legally binding. By the way, guys,
yeah.
Seyi is the one that reads all my contracts for me. So NDAs are very legally binding, and you probably don't know when they have hidden something. So when you just mistakenly slip up, they just catch you.
Yeah.
So to
See
avoid
your ass to the ground.
to avoid any shalaye, just don't like don't just ask first. Yeah, even if they say it is what in the NDA now, why didn't you see it in the NDA? Just say sorry. You just wanted to confirm. So yeah. Um. Also, when Seyi and I work on projects, we tend to work on projects from different areas. So we can work on a project from actually, what projects have we worked on? Okay, we can work on a project from a printing industry, from the printing and design industry. We can work on a digital agency, work on something with food, work on something with social impact, we worked on something with health, so we like just pick on different industries. So you could pick on fintech, but pick on edutech, so that one your portfolio will be so rich in different aspects. So if somebody that is into fintech comes to your portfolio, they are sure that okay, he has worked on a fintech project before. We can bank on him. We can bank on her.
Yes.
So have range when it
Have
comes to
range, have range.
have range.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and have a portfolio. Once you build like one or two projects, have a portfolio, man. Because opportunities come from portfolios,
Yeah.
messages come from portfolios. Like it is really, really important that you do have a portfolio.
Yeah, I used to use a PDF portfolio before, but like I decided to put my portfolio up on Behance recently, and I've been having a lot of jobs come from Behance. Do you get? So put out your portfolio on all these platforms. I've had jobs come from Dribble. Do you get? So put your work out on Dribble. Put your work out on Behance. Dribble is not just for designers. There are developers that put their works on Dribble too. Yeah, so put your workouts, put it on Twitter, yeah, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, because you don't even know where your market is. So
Who still use Facebook?
please dear. My Instagram uses Facebook for me. So put your work everywhere, put the word out. Even if it's not, I know there are a lot of people that have what do you call this thing? Imposter syndrome when it comes to putting their workouts, we'll talk about that one some other time. Imposter syndrome is an entire topic on its own. But one thing I know that you could do to overcome imposter syndrome is be open to feedback. Do you get? So even if you feel your work is not good enough, still put it out and expect feedback. Prepare your mind for feedback. Yeah, okay, you could have done this better. I know when we post, I remember when we posted that our pizza design, there were a couple of people. We did not make it mobile. Yeah, we only did the web aspects. I'm going to tell Muja that he was featured in this live video. So he was sorry. We only did the web, and a lot of people were able to reach out to even assist me in creating the mobile view for it. Do you get? So you could that would be very, very great. So last question. Someone asked, how una dey get clients with the pay abeg? Referral, Twitter.
When it comes to money, Nigerians always go pigeon. Yeah.
Shit.
I wish I could give you a tip because throughout last year the goal was not to apply.
What's
The goal was to build. Yeah, but so people came to me, and the best way to achieve that is I get that money is important. I get that money is important. Money should be more like a long run objective. Clients should be more like a long run objective, and then people will just come.
Yeah.
Focus more on building for now. You get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be applying for like 100 jobs and then getting rejected. I mean, if it's just not, don't stop spamming employers.
You guys,
Try as
disclaimer.
much as possible.
Seyi hates applying for jobs. Seyi does
Yeah,
not like.
that's once I open the form and I start seeing why do you want us to work? Why do you want to work for us and stuff like that, I just close it back. So I focus on building, to be honest, and that has helped me dig.
Yeah. Also,
I'm not saying you should do free work. I absolutely hate people doing free work. People should be paid for their work. Saying you doing something personal, or you deciding that I want to volunteer for this company to build this.
Yes.
You get to learn a new tech. I did that so many times last year.
Yeah.
I remember trying to learn Gatsby and I built something for the company. You get Bono. You get that was my choice. Please don't do free work when don't let anybody pressure you into doing free work. saying that that's the best way to
To
get a
grow.
career. That, that's
Mm-mm.
just rubbish.
That's just
Yeah.
absolute rubbish. Yeah, and I'm happy we're talking about this now. Don't let anybody guilt trip you into doing free work because they say you want to. Okay, somebody wants to ask a question. Hi, Manu.
No, I wanted to point out something concerning that free work. They always use the word that will give you exposure. Free
Exactly.
You
work.
get like
Exactly. Don't let anybody guilt trip you into that. Don't let
I once
anybody.
point blank told the client that oh, I work hard enough, keep your exposure. You get
Ooh,
because
sorry. Oh.
yeah, man, like exposure no dey do anything, man. So yeah,
So don't let anybody guilt trip you into doing free work. See, exposure is not by doing free work. Exposure can be as little as you do something freelance, you do something on your own, you work on a project together with a developer and you put it out. That is really
that is
exposure.
that is exposure.
Do you get?
You do a project with a client and they can't even let you post it, or you get
Yeah,
it just it doesn't
and they're
make
now
any sense.
saying exposure when they don't allow you post it. It does not add up.
Someone needs imagine someone needs your service, they are coming to you and they are still telling you to come and do it for free
Do you
because
get?
they are just starting out and they just want to.
You
Nah,
know,
it just doesn't work like
see,
that.
in design, or I'm not sure about dev, but in design, no matter the years of experience you have, I know somebody that is 1 year into design and she's currently working at Paystack. I think she's like 2 years into design and she's currently working at Paystack. So it's not about the number of years. As much as the number of years matter, what can you show for the number of years that you have been in design? What can you show for the number of years you have been in dev? Some people would rather hire a 1 year designer that has amazing works, amazing jobs, than somebody that has 5 years of experience and has nothing to show for it. Do you get? So don't focus on your number of, oh, I have to have 5 years experience. Dead the experience thing. Produce quality jobs, produce quality works. Do you get? Produce,
Please,
put your
yeah,
best. Listen.
put your best, put it to put more out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you carve out a path for yourself, I mean, I had when I started, I had a Trello board, and I was like, this is what I mean. I
But
added
Seyi,
vector to it.
we had a channel.
We had a Trello board, sorry, and then we had stuff that we put in. You get? I didn't let the fact that oh, I'm just new into tech, because people say a lot of things online. Nigerian employers are obsessed with experience. You get? It's just it don't make sense, guy. Like I legit started last year. And the companies have been able to like even not even work people have conversations with. I mean, it has been amazing. Again, the guys at Paystack are really amazing, to be honest. So when they reached out, I was like, "Are you sure?" Because I kept doubting myself. I was telling the team leader, "Oh, are you sure like you want?" Because I mean, it's Paystack for God's sake. But they were like, "Guy," the guy told me that he sold already. That I should. He just needs us to discuss
God,
the
why not?
project and like the bar. You get so. Once people are sure of what you do, they will
Yeah,
come.
yeah,
I won't even lie to you. They will come.
yeah.
They will
Like
come.
they will
You might
come.
not
Like
like,
it's not.
yeah. You might not need to be the most social person,
Yeah.
but I know one thing for sure. The developer and design community on Twitter is really amazing.
Yeah.
You get. They will RT your post. They will, anything design that comes to my TL, I RT it aggressively. They will RT your post. They will call you. They might not know you from anywhere. They recommend you for gigs. They'll
Yeah.
find you stuff like that.
Mhm.
You get.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
stuff, work more.
Exactly. Like so, I think from what he's saying, you're already in a very safe community where people are, selling the idea of good design. So you put out good design, you get acknowledgement for it. In fact, when I put out, I don't know if I've taken it down now because of NDA, but like there's a part the time I put up a school portal design and how it just blew up. Like that design was ugly in my opinion. That design was beautifully ugly because there were a couple of things I could have done better. Yeah. But like from that little thing I just put out, I think Seyi was even the one that convinced me to put it out. It was on a Sunday. Yeah, and he just said, oh, I think you should put this out. And I just put it and it went wild. GK, because you're already like growing in a community where everybody is safe. Nobody wants to intentionally look down on you or intentionally badmouth your work. Instead, they give constructive criticism. That was so difficult. They give constructive corrections. Do you get? So don't focus on the number of years. I was speaking to Lulu yesterday. I don't know if you guys know her. What's my Twitter handle? I'll type it in. I was speaking to one of my friends yesterday, and she was telling me about her goals as a user interface designer. And I'm like, yes, that is what we should do. Yeah, as growing user interface designers, set out goals. Seyi and I set out goals on the Trello board that we had. Okay, we wanted to build this project. Okay, we wanted to apply for Shopify internship. Okay, we wanted to do this. Okay, and we're able to accomplish those goals. Okay, so have people you're accountable to in this design space, set goals, accomplish the goals, find people that will help you accomplish those goals. So don't focus on, oh, I must have 5 years experience. I did not even know the number of experiences I had until I spoke to somebody and the person just asked me, how many years have you been in design? I'm like, oh, I've never thought about that before. Do you get? So don't get carried away with number of experience, or don't restrict yourself because you don't have years of experience. Put out your work. Don't let anybody guilt trip you into doing free jobs. Okay? How does one have access to Shopify internship? There is Shay, how did you know about Shopify internship? You just
I
know.
saw a tweet of guy.
Exactly, you just know. So that's another thing. Follow influential designers. Follow influential developers. These people put out a ton of opportunities on a steady. Yeah, so follow important influential designers. Follow influential developers and keep up with their work. I know there's some people that their tweet notification is on for me, Jigget, so that immediately they post something, I'm following their footsteps like crazy, Jigget. So be part of this. Engage in conversations also. Don't hoard your information. So if you learn something new, go on Twitter, tweet it. That way you are building influence for yourself. Yeah, I know a lot of people while I was in school that called me by Chokomilo Girl or by Omaumi, and that's not even my real name. So, but because of the influence I had built, based on like as per designer babe now, they already knew me. They have applied for jobs before, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're Chokomilo Girl." You get it's so awkward, but when you learn something new, tweet about it, share it with your friends. Like, oh my God, I just learned about this today, and it was fascinating. You get, so don't hoard information. Thank you. You're not a palliative. So, guys, any more questions? So nobody laughed at my joke. Wow.
I'm giggling.
Tough crowd.
I'm laughing.
Tough crowd. Yes, Joe. Do you guys have any other questions? So you wanted to ask a question?
No, actually, I just realized. Sorry, I didn't know you were the one who shared that. What's it called? The Google Drive with all the. I just figured now. I have a feedback on it, but I'll send it to you via DM or Twitter.
No problem. Okay? That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, things like that. Also, be open to. Thank you so much, guys. If this design thing does not work out for me, I promise I'm going to comment.
No, I can't. You
can't send me a message?
Sorry,
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'll mute myself now. Okay.
No problem. So, guys, any more questions before we round up for today? This class has been very interesting, by the way. So, any more questions? You can just unmute yourself. Let me check YouTube. Let me not forget our people over there. This congregation. Okay, Shay, they said I should tell you well done. Oh,
Who is that?
YouTube people.
Oh, thank you very much.
So guys, Great. So I think we can round up for today in the absence of in the absence of so many questions. So guys, we also have like a question and answer session on the last day. That's on Thursday. I'll be taking the class then. So like I think I just want to make the class question and answer. So Shay, you have fans though.
Oh, no mind Ray. That's Ray that is whining me, my friend.
So, yeah guys, so thank you so much for joining today's class. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, when are we getting to the slides? Okay, so I think I should say it here now. The slides are going to come as a package after the entire boot camp. So you have all the slides and all important materials you probably need to grow in your journey after the boot camp. So we're going to package it all together and send it to you guys after the boot camp. I hope that's okay because I've heard this question a lot of times. So yeah, so thank you guys for today. Don't forget our class on Saturday with me on business or design. He missed his class yesterday because of a meeting, but like he's going to be taking it on Saturday by 5. Don't worry, we'll set reminders for everybody. And thank you so much guys. I love you all as usual, and as usual also go on Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook and talk about the things you have learned today. The hashtag is still Design Bootcamp 21. Tag Seyi. Don't have to tag me, but tag Seyi so he can retweet. If you have any more questions, you can slide into his DMs. You can slide into my DMs. We'll answer you guys. Love you all. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Seyi, thank you.